Hello, my name is Ali, and this is Vladimir, and welcome to Reality. We normally do daily vlogs and monthly updates about this little guy on here, but of course with the incident that happened a few days ago, I decided to make a opinion video. I'm sure there's lots of people with their own opinion videos, and I'm just going to explain what I think, how I feel being a vegan and also being a new mother, apparently, As you guys can see, he is 6 months old. So the first things first, I'm going to say is that it is a tragedy, and no one is doubting the fact that it is a tragedy at all. And in a perfect world, Harambe would never have been living in a zoo because him and his kind would not be endangered, and their natural habitat would not be being pretty much basically torn apart as we speak. They would not be being killed or hunted or anything. But obviously, as you guys know, we do not live in a perfect world. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I am vegan, so it is easy for me to just sit and say that could never happen to me because I would never take my children to the zoo and cut, but not really. So, obviously I personally would never take my son or allow my son to go to a zoo until he is the ripe old age of however old he thinks he can be to make a decision like that. But obviously that is a cop-out because I have to put myself in the position of this woman. There are a lot of things, different people saying that she was on her phone, that she was taking care of like 3 other children younger or whatever, that it all happened in a second. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is true, this is false, because one side says something and the other side says something else. And I do understand that accidents can happen with little ones in an instant, in a snap, and that is why you're supposed to baby-proof. And, all these other things, why you're supposed to take extra precautions. And I have seen it, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who have seen it firsthand, that when at a place that one would think is family-friendly or for children specifically, most parents tend to just zone out. But how many times have you heard of children drowning at water parks? Because, the parents just let them have fun because, it's supposed to be safe. And yes, there are precautions taken, the water in the children's area doesn't get X amount of feet deep, it's only X amount of feet deep, and then there's lifeguards. But first and foremost, you are responsible for yourself and for your child. Regardless of how family friendly a place seems, you should always be on your guard. When you go to the pool, there's, no matter how slim of a possibility of it happening, there's always a possibility of drowning. When you go to a zoo, there's the possibility of an animal hurting you. However small and minute that possibility is, it is still a possibility, and people should remember that. So, a lot of people are saying that the boy had crawled through some wire and then fell from the moat. Like, it had taken him quite a while. I'm not going to sit here and lie and tell you that I had looked up what the habitat looked like and whether or not it could happen in an instant like the mother said, or if it really happened like other people are saying it happened, like it took him a minute to get over there. And then of course I'm sure you guys have all seen the footage. And as a new mom and pretending that my son was the one down there, I can understand wanting to do anything to get him out of there. But that's not even just because I think that my son's life is more important to me personally than the gorilla. If it was between my son and, this is going to sound terrible, but your son, I would save my son 100%. And that is just human nature. That is how humans are. We protect our offspring, we protect our own before protecting anybody else. And I might get hate from that because I'm probably people are gonna be like, oh, well, I would try to save both. But honestly, I'm 100% sure, given the chance of either saving your child or saving somebody else's child, I personally would save my own. And I would feel terrible for the other person whose child who, had to essentially die because I saved mine, but I'd feel terrible, but I would still make that decision 100%. And I feel like I would feel the exact same way. If for whatever reason I went to the zoo and he got into a habitat I would do anything to get my child back. And we live in a world where sadly human life trumps animal life time and time again. And he was an endangered species. I've been hearing a lot of just comments, like not even just bad mother comments, because I'm not going to lie, I think it was a bad mom comment, or a bad, not even bad mom or bad parenting. It was an unfortunate situation that I do feel like could have been prevented. Honestly, that is my opinion. But, you know, I wasn't there. And I don't know how fast her little flash baby is, so whatever. As I was just saying, we live in a world where animals don't mean anything. Clearly, because his entire species is endangered. Because if they meant something, he would have never had to have been there in the first place. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it looked like in the video that he was protecting the child, though I think he was. I am not a gorilla expert. If you want to, you know, see what experts, people who have studied and lived with gorillas think about that, then go, by all means, go find a page. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that God was protecting this child, because, anyways, I'm not going to even go there. I've been seeing a lot of comments about people saying that, you know, she should be sterilized, that her children should be taken away from them, and other people saying that no, that she's been punished enough. I call BS on that. As intentional as her actions might have been that led to this situation, to essentially this beautiful, precious, in so many different ways of the word, animal is now gone. Like, because of what she's done or what she didn't do, Harambe is gone now. And I'm sure she did not wake up that morning with the intention of letting her son fall into his habitat enclosure and, you know, ultimately lead to the death of this beautiful animal soul. But that's what happened. And I have a nice little funny story to tell you guys. I was driving once and I accidentally got into a car accident. It was not my intention to hit this other car, and I did not hit them very hard. And I was terrified, and I am continuously still terrified to this day. I get really bad anxiety driving on the freeway, and one could say that I've been punished enough. So much so that I still, till this moment in time, have anxiety over it. But guess what? That's not the way the world works. I got a ticket. I had to do traffic school. I got sued by one of the people I had allegedly hit, even though the damage was under $300. And that's because that's how it happens. That's because that's the law. I hit somebody. Unintentional, my actions were leading up to it, and how sorry I feel and how it is infecting me even after the fact, months later. I had to pay the piper, essentially, and I do believe she does as well. Because of that, because of her choice, and because her child essentially brought on the killing, the death of this creature, she should be punished. That is not to say that her children should be taken away from her. Do I personally think CPS should get involved in the situation? Yes, I do. You know, look at video footage, see what was going on, what had happened, how it could be prevented. Do I think she should be sterilized? I don't think so. I mean, unless the footage and her home life show things that, you know, are alarming, but even then, we do not do that here in this country, so whatever. And I do think she should be fined. Because of her, the western lowland gorillas are even that much more in trouble and that much more in danger. And it's not just her fault, whether it was her fault or a misfortunate event. I think the zoo also has a part to play in this. And once again, I understand, as messed up as this sounds, that animal lives will never mean anything in comparisons to human life. Even though I understand by a mathematical point of view that Harambe's life was much more worth, it was worth much more than that little boy, than that my life, than Vladimir's life, than a lot of us, our lives combined. But who knows, my son could cure cancer, and we just don't know, you know, or he could just grow up to be a plain old Joe, or he could even grow up to be someone who continues destroying the world and murders people, and, you know, So, whatever. So I understand by a mathematical point that Harambe's life trumps the child's life. But like I said, if it were my child, even knowing that, I would still want my son out of there. So as I was saying, I think she should be charged a fine. I think the zoo for starters, don't think they should even be open, but that's just my wild veganist talking, like the vegan in me talking. But I really do think that they should take a look at not only this habitat, but all of their habitats to see if they are doing the most they can to keep people safe. And one would say that, well, it's the parents' job to keep them safe, and it's this, that, and the other, and let's play devil's advocate. Let's pretend it did happen in a snap, that the mom just turned around and before she knew it, her son was in the enclosure. It's a little bit terrifying to think that within a matter of seconds you could be in there. How is it that the tellers and the paper money at the bank is more guarded than a 700-pound gorilla? That does not make sense to me. And it's because money and paper mean more than an animal. So, but that's not for another complete different rant. So that is what I am thinking and how I am feeling. It is very sad. She should be fined. Whether or not CPS should actually look into her personal life is another thing. I really do think that the footage should be looked at, and maybe she should be charged with something, because it's terrible. When people let their children accidentally drown in the pool, I can assure you there is an investigation done, and I could never imagine my son dying. And drownings do happen like this in an instant, in a flash. You turn around, your son's there, you turn back, you go do something, you turn around a few seconds later, and they're gone and they're face down in the pool, and they're gone forever. And one would say that they were punished enough because they no longer have their child died. But it goes back to me and my car accident. I am still to this day terrified of driving, but I still had to, I still had to pay my tickets, I still had to go to traffic school. And when your child dies on your watch, you are still investigated. And thankfully, he did not die. The little boy did not die, and I'm sure his mother is very happy. But Harambe did die, and that is the best we can do for him, because clearly we cannot protect him out in his own world, and that we have to bring him in here. I do not think that the zoos, whether or not they are trying to better the gorillas' lives by having a breeding program, I understand that, and I understand why they're in captivity for the most part, only endangered creatures, but I do not understand why they have to make a dime off their back. You can have a breeding facility and program and not sell plushies of them, and not have them where the public can see them. But then, of course, people are going to be like, well, how do they get finance and this and the other, blah, 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 blah. And that's where we really have to sit down and look at what we truly believe. Because we are hypocrites. Because, zoos teach people and they do a lot of good. But we're only going to support them if we can essentially see these animals that we care so much about. I want to be able to see them. I want to be able to take pictures of them. I want to be able to videotape them and have a photo of my baby in front of their window and blah, blah, blah. And I want to buy a plushie of it for like $16.99. But it's funny because we care so much about them. But we only care so much about them if we can get something in return. And that's not the way it should be. So that is my salty seconds, and I feel terrible for the gorilla, and part of me does feel terrible for the mother, regardless of whether I think it is her fault, which I do think it is, essentially, regardless of how accidental it was. I do think she should be charged a fine, as if one who were to kill one of these creatures out in their natural habitat. They are endangered and they are protected, and because of her choice to go to the zoo and have this misfortunate accident, I'm going to call it an accident, as to not anger anybody who thinks it was her fault or who wasn't her fault, but due to this accident of hers, she should have to pay the price, because as unfortunate as the accident is, it's just unfortunate that it happened to her, and now she has to pay the price regardless of how sorry she is, regardless of how many nightmares she will continue to wake up from for the rest of her life because her son was down there, you know. It's just one of those things. And that is me signing off with this little one. He is tired, he is exhausted. You guys should not go to zoos. Do not do it. We live in a world where you can turn on your computer or your phone or your TV and see these magnificent creatures in the wild, or see videos or, you know, movies, documentaries about them. You can even go and see sanctuaries where they live. Obviously, you might not be guaranteed the ability to see these animals because they are animals, and hey, if you see one walking across, that's great. If you don't, well, whatever, you know. If you truly care about these creatures, you would not make a mockery of their lives, and you know, that's just about it. Also, do not forget that there are many other gorillas and many other animals in the zoos that need our helps, that need our help. So that is just me, and I'm going to go before, like I said, the crazy vegan comes out of me. And this is Ali and Vladimir, and we are signing off. Just keep that in mind. There are many other, much more educational ways of showing your children the beauties of the world as far as animals. And granted, it might not be as fun and as fun, but it's substantially better for these animals. And like I said, there's no reason to visit a zoo nowadays. And yeah, we're signing off. Bye.